Hello my booties. So in this video I'm going to discuss my Flight 4. Flight 4. So I need to set the stage really. We've done 3 flights obviously, being Flight 4. Done 3 flights before with the help of my instructor and Martin, my kind of flying buddy, who gave me loads of encouragement and help. And so it was a Friday night, a lovely Friday night. Wasn't too hot, it was a pleasant evening with a little bit of wind, 5 mile an hour or whatever. And I went down the airfield and expected other people to be there. There was no one else there. I took a snack and some coffee and I set up, and I felt really nervous, and I sat there and I procrastinated quite a bit, drinking coffee and fiddling around, and I thought, come on, look, you've got to get in the air. And unfortunately I've got no footage of this evening, so I'm going to rely on what we can see here. And so I thought, come on, let's go. And so I did. I took off, and it's very strange because I kind of had a plan initially to take off and bank to the right, and strangely enough the first 30 seconds of the whole flight was a mystery to me. Looking back on it, completely erased from my memory. I remember kind of coming to, and I'm not saying I passed out, it's just that the brain, it's just like seeing, you know how rabbits are when they see headlights and they just basically follow them like a mental thing, even though they're going to get run over. It's very much like that. I just came to and thought, oh, I'm this high and I'm now over, we've got a big greenhouse nearby and we're not supposed to fly over less than 500 feet. So instead of banking right, I turned left and I thought, right, okay, I'll go a different way, because I'd already gone too close to this greenhouse. So it's strange what can happen to the brain. Anyway, so there I was in flight, and let's just talk about where Wingland is. Here's an overview of Wingland on Google Maps, and you can see Wingland there, and it's surrounded basically by fields. And if I zoom in, you'll see there we basically have 2 buildings. There's one here and there's one over there. One's the clubhouse. So basically the chances of hitting a building are extremely unlikely. We've got a power cable and there's a road and there's a few dikes. So very little could go wrong. But close to the airfield, I'm part of the airfield there, and you can see it here, is a motorbike track, and it's undulating big mounds, and at that point it had really long grass in it. In fact, if I run VT, we can see it here. There we go. And I've often stood at the edge of that grass and I thought, Christ, I would hate to land in all of that, because you just can't see the bottom. You can't predict where the bottom is because it's undulating hills, and therefore to be avoided at all costs. So I got airborne and I flew around and around, and I did some circuits, and I flew out and I did a bit of a cross country. So bearing in mind this is my 4th flight, I actually let go of the brakes for some time and just sat there with my arms folded. Now I knew I had 6 litres of fuel on board. I knew this from, and somewhere 30 minutes, 40 minutes in the flight, I did actually use a little mirror and check I had fuel, and I seemed to have plenty. So off I went, and I guess I just got carried away. And also near the airfield is someone I work with, about a mile away, so I actually phoned them on my phone and waved to them and did all that sort of business, and became totally oblivious to the fact I needed to check my fuel and I was burning it. And because I was doing so many circuits, I guess you're using so much more fuel than normal. So here's a video that was shot at another time, and you can see here the approach, and that was very similar to that day. So I was coming in, approaching, and on this approach I was actually starting to rock left and right, and I hadn't done. I'd done like 20 circuits and they were all perfect, and this last one, and I thought I'm going to land, I started to rock, so I thought I'll go around. But as I was coming in I was thinking, that's funny, the engine seems to be spluttering a little bit. So at this point here, somewhere here, and I was a lot lower than what I'm showing on this video here, I decided to power up, and I came over that racetrack and the engine died. And I must have only been at 30 feet. Now, the other side of this racetrack was some concrete. And I thought, shit, I'm not going to land on that racetrack. I'll land in that gap between that and the club building. So I pulled right brake. And then I saw the concrete. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to land in that concrete. So I pulled more right brake. And eventually, boom. There was this building, this metal-clad building. In fact, you can see that roof to the left of it there. I was so lucky I didn't hit that roof, because it probably would have sliced my legs open. So I hit the roof just about there. And with my right leg, I kicked out. And as I kicked out, I thought, for the first time in my life, I have broken something. I've never broken a bone in my life. And the whole paramotor clacked into the roof and spun round and smashed the other side. And the wing went over the roof and then caught, you can see a little tie at the top there, caught on there, and I landed on the floor, where the paramotor is in this picture. Luckily, I'd taken the Airfield's phone number before I took off, thinking it may be useful. And Peter, who runs the Airfield, I rang him and said, "Hi, Peter, it's Sam, one of the guys who paramotes out of your Airfield. Suppose you happen to have a ladder, do you?" A ladder, he said. What do you mean? What do you want a ladder for? I said, well, I seem to have had a bit of an accident. So his missus was a trained nurse, so they both turned up with a ladder. And here he is getting my wing off the roof there. And his missus said, well, you need to go to A&E, a hospital. And I don't know about anybody else, but A&E on a Friday night in England about 8 o'clock is starting to get a bit busy. So I said, no, I think I'll give that a miss. I'll go home. I could walk. It was a bit painful. Anyway, then the Monday I went to hospital. It was really bad over the weekend. But they looked at it and said, I think there's not too much wrong in terms of broken bones. And it turned out I'd done a lateral ligament something, which basically meant if I twisted my knee on a right hand kind of bit of pressure, it was very painful. Unfortunately, we got a newborn baby, so my partner wasn't too impressed because I couldn't really help for the next 3 months. I was hobbling about. I certainly couldn't fly for another 3 months, so that put me out for the whole of the summer. So I started to learn in the winter, and suddenly I lost the whole of the summer due to this one accident. And of course the wing had to go away and be repaired. And a superb job. The Loft did it, a firm in England, and I cannot even see any repair on it. They changed the whole segment on it. It's like brand new. And of course the paramotor, the bottom of the frame was smashed, as we can see here, all twisted, and one of the fuel bleed bulb needs to be replaced. But yeah, made quite a mess and put me out of action for a considerable amount of time. In conclusion, what did we learn? Don't get carried away. Don't do more than you really should. I mean, I just got carried away. Check your fuel regularly. And also, don't panic. Probably if I'd carried on the same glide path, the field beyond, and there was a dike between the racetrack and the field beyond was just a cornfield, I would have just gone, oh, whoops, and had to climb over the dike with my paramotor. That's all I would have had to done. But instead, I just panicked. Like I say, you know, it's flight 4, hadn't really had that much experience, should have been flying on my own. Well, I suppose if I'd been flying with anybody else, would it have helped? They probably might have pointed out that the fact I've been in the air for an hour and a half, and probably was running out of fuel. I don't know. It's a job. I suppose, in summary, don't be an idiot.